Welcome to a new Daily Top Askreddit video. Today's topic:
NSFW, what's the most depraved thing you've seen someone do? Got a fun one for you. My younger sister and I went out to eat at a diner. Towards the end of the meal, she told me that she had to use the bathroom. She was gone for a longer than usual time. She finally came back and we finished eating, which wasn't very long. I paid for the food and told her that I had to use the bathroom before we left. I went into the women's bathroom and opened the door to the first stall. There was shit smeared everywhere. All over the walls and the toilet. Shit-covered paper was also everywhere. I was absolutely appalled and disgusted. It looked like a kid went to town and finger-painted with shit. I left the bathroom and told my sister about it. She was also shocked and disgusted about it. I found out years later that she was the one that did it. I no longer have anything to do with her. Not because of the poop painting incident, but a myriad of asshole behavior, including stealing my identity and going on a shopping spree. What comes over someone to do something like this? Genuinely, what is the goddamn thought process? Exclamation mark. At my old job they had to send out a mass email because someone in the ladies' restroom had a habit of smearing their period blood all over a stall and stick the used pad onto the wall. It was a big building with about 7 men's and 7 women's restrooms and hundreds of employees. In the men's room someone had the habit of taking a massive shit, wiping their ass, and leaving the dirty TP all over the stall they were in. They wouldn't flush it, just left it on the floor. I was skating at a park in DTLA when a drug deal went bad and one guy shot 2 guys dead. The park that had hundreds of people on this particular day emptied. After about a minute the people returned and began striping the bodies of the men that were there, dying of their clothes and necklaces, and by the time the cops got there they were in their boxers and wife-beater shirts, and that's it. Wait, putting aside how fucked up this is. People took their blood-soaked clothing with, presumably, bullet holes. Exclamation mark. Maybe it was Versace and the bullet holes were a tribute. My god, that's traumatizing. After the stabbings on the Portland Max train in 2017, where 3 men stood up to defend 2 young Muslim girls from a homeless nutjob piece of shit and then had their throats slashed, 2 died, a separate homeless guy was caught and later arrested for stealing the wedding ring off one of the dying men. I used to work at a small grocery store in a town that had a decently sized concert venue, campground. Needless to say, every summer was a constant parade of drunk girls in bikini tops, weed auras, and people who lost their shoes in the river. The following story was witnessed after the fact on the security tapes. One night as me and the manager were in the back room closing up, only 2 employees locked up at night, a guy managed to jimmy open the locked front door. He completely failed to find the restroom he was looking for 15 feet to the left despite the clear signage, and proceeded to the produce section. There, he climbed aboard a cart-shaped display full of iceberg lettuce, think the cart from My Cabbages. Took off his pants, threw them on the floor, and took a shit on the lettuce. When he was done, he reclaimed his trousers and walked right back out the door. When the manager and I did our final walkthrough 5 minutes later, we smelled his deposit long before we found it. After checking the tape we notified the store manager that we'd be staying late to clean it up and rebuild a lettuce display. The next day the store manager gave both of us $100 and had upgraded door locks installed. A constant parade of drunk girls in bikini tops, weed auras, and people who lost their shoes in the river. Just wanted to say that that is a surprisingly beautiful and evocative line, and was especially unexpected in a story about somebody shitting on the lettuce. Nicely done, thank you. I try to make my words gooder that there is funner for the readers. +1 for My Cabbages. Drunk guy at a party claimed he could drink anything, and that, if everyone spits in a cup I could even drink that. Someone took him up on this, went around the party with a cup gathering spit, foam from beers, cigarette butts, and one guy peed a little bit in the cup. The drunk guy did drink it, then puked everywhere shortly after. At least his body is wiser than his brain. When I worked at a hotel years ago, we had a wine tasting event with around 200+ attendees. Each winery had a spit bucket for guests to taste and spit out the wine. End of shift, we were doing a last clearing of the buckets at the dish pit. I had a cart with 5 8L spittoons half full. One the dish pit guys, I'll call him Kevin, stopped me from dumping them out as it was perfectly good wine in there. He filled 3 empty wine bottles and took them home to drink. Heard the next day from the other dish pit guy, they hung out after their shift that night, that Kevin drank a half bottle of the spit wine before throwing up all over his living room, then drank the remaining bottle and threw up again. Was smart enough to throw away the other 2 bottles though, I guess. My dad sold my boombox I got as a present for finishing kindergarten for crack. My cousin stole and swapped my first motorbike worth around £4,000 for £50 worth of crack. I feel you, bro. I assume you told this story at his funeral after you murdered him, right? So sorry that happened to you, friend. My dad is an addict too, and he made me empty my piggy bank so he could have bus money. I only told my mom about it over a decade later, and she was horrified that 5-year-old me was extorted to feed his drug habit. I once walked in on my roommate having a romantic dinner with a mannequin. Full candles, wine, the works. I still don't know what to think about it to this day. Maybe she comes to life when no one else is looking. More like life comes in her when no one else is looking. Remember those old big screen TVs that when you ran your nails over it would make a zipper noise? Was at a sleepover with a few buddies at my buddy's grandpa's house as younger teen. We were watching HBO. A sexy scene came up and one of our buddies immediately jumped up, ran up to the TV, jerked off on said TV and tried to wipe it off. All in a matter of seconds. Quick enough we were like, WTF is he doing, and then saw the blob of jism. It turned the screen a discolored green. Did you talk about it? I mean, at first I was in shock and then I thought it was hilarious, but it wasn't my TV. I used to work at a magazine store. Just a normal one which also had an adults only section. Haven't seen a magazine in years, but in those days, it used to have a plastic cover which would hide the entire magazine apart from the name of the magazine. One day as I was walking around the store, I saw one smartly dressed gentleman licking the cover of a magazine, really going at it. The magazine was still in its plastic cover and all you could see was the brand name. Went to dinner with another couple and he licked the Chili's laminated menu. Never dined with him again. Genuinely way fucking weirder than the porn liquor. This is seriously deranged. You made the right call. Circa 2002. I went to pick my GF at the time up from work. She worked at a facility that helped mentally disabled adults who were wards of the state to daily activities, find part-time jobs, some even full-time. I go to the house where she worked, and where many of the individuals she helped manage lived. One of these individuals, we'll call her Gail, was a short round woman pushing 50 years of age. Gail was always smiling like she was in on some joke no one else was, and this was the day I found out why. As my GF and I were saying goodbye to my GF's boss, Gail triumphantly marches out of the bathroom with a forearm-sized turd in her hand, smiling proudly, and says loudly, "You wanna see the shit hit the fan?" As she throws it upwards underhanded into the living room's ceiling fan, which was on high, and Gail's turd was plastered around the room and all of us. I still get sick thinking about the smell. My god. Edit, thanks for all the comments. It's been some time so I can laugh about it now, but it was pretty horrid. It's a shitty story but it is funny. Gail got mad jokes. I worked at nicer Mexican restaurant where we served these giant-ass football-sized burritos. This one guy on his 21st birthday ate the whole thing and puked back up onto the plate. The table started to chant, eat it, so he did, and the dude next to him helped. Just a couple of bites but dang. The dude next to him. WTF. I probably shouldn't have clicked this thread after I started eating. A colleague and I were first on the scene of a fatal hit and run in Manchester a few weeks ago. While we were trying to give the victim first aid, or more accurately panicking, knowing our first aid ability was completely inadequate, a lady was stood by us filming everything on her phone. I'm still completely traumatized by it, and all I can think of is this absolute cunt filming while a 22-year-old girl lay dying in the road. Something about just standing around filming someone actively dying is probably the most depraved thing in this entire thread to me. Like, how can you stand around and not help and then film it? It's incomprehensible to me. Kid died in a car accident in a town close to mine, a small town, tight community. All-star football player, good grades, community service. Great kid. Someone got to the scene before the police and took a video of the crash and made sure to focus in on the stump where his head should be and his brains on the dashboard. What the fuck compels people to do that? Uni years I walked in on my dorm roommate listening to our other roommate have sex whilst touching himself. Fun fact, locked eyes with me and didn't stop. At all. What the actual fuck? I hope you left the room for good after that. That day I found out RAs are actually useless and I reported the incident and they asked me for proof. I emailed back saying you wanted me to stop and record someone W-king whilst staring at me. Why did I read these? FR and I'm still going. My son got stabbed in April. His intestines were outside his abdomen. A guy was trying to steal stuff from cars at a club and my kid was just chilling outside and saw the guy and asked him to stop looking in the cars. The perp is a career criminal. He was out on bail before my kid was out of the ICU. He has previously been charged with murder, burglary, assault and a bunch of other stuff. There was zero reason for that dude to stab my kid. Zero. Is he alive? Sorry, yes, he's okay. He went back to work after 8 weeks. No idea if the perp will be prosecuted. There is a video, but it's inconclusive if my kid did anything because his back was to the camera and the perp is standing in front of him, so you can't see the stabbing. But my son only asked the perp to move along. There are actual witnesses, including my son-in-law, a super stand-up guy, who confirmed the other witness accounts. It was the night before my youngest got married and my son was supposed to give her away. The perp ruined what should have been my daughter's happiest day. The wedding went on, but no one was really in a good mood. It's just a nightmare for a mom. I saw a group of guys knock on someone's door and then shoot the guy who answered. I was about 15 feet away, getting into my car after finishing a babysitting job. Holy shit. Spoiled childhood friend had a gas-powered RC car. He thought it would be funny to duct tape a lizard onto it and take the poor thing for a ride. When he tried to take the tape off, it basically ripped the dude in half and the kid laughed. Fast forward some years, he went away for murder. It's well known that abusing, killing animals as children usually leads to them doing the same to humans. My friend and I used to joke that the next-door neighbor's kid was a school shooter in the making. It was an internal joke between us based on his odd behavior, but we never took it too seriously. Sometimes we'd look out the window and just see this kid in the dirt alley next to the apartment pacing back and forth for a while. If you passed him and nodded or said hello, he would just look right through you. Very odd. One day my friend looks out the window and the kid is swinging a frog around by its legs violently in circles over and over. Those thoughts were elevated from a silly joke to serious concern. It's a common question when interviewing murderers if they harmed animals as children.